Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the April 9th, 2026 meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary W. Sharp, and I will be serving as your chairperson today. We will begin this morning's meeting with the roll call. Mr. Ragsdale.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Gill.
Mr. Gill?
Here.
Ms. O'Connell.
Here.
Mr. McKinnon. Here. Ms. Wilbanks.
Here.
Mr. Winter.
Here.
Vice Chair Lyles Wallace.
Here.
Chair Sharp.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the right podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendance speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter on which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would like to now get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I please have a motion?
Motion to approve last month's minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those against, nay. Motion carries. We will now have a director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as we did last month, we're just going to give a brief update on our ongoing efforts for the comprehensive plan updates, as well as our zoning code and zoning map updates that we will be bringing to you next month for consideration. So Mr. Wardrop will give a really brief presentation on that today.
Good morning, board members. Nicholas Wardrop, Division of Planning and Development. Yes, I'll be really quick. As Mr. Ragsdale said, the code update and 5-year plan update will be on your agenda next month. So that's exciting. Obviously, we're very excited for the changes these are going to bring about in our city. Some things you should know, and this is all put together for you in a letter that's linked in the agenda. We published last week, almost 2 weeks ago now, a full draft of the code text. If you haven't had a chance to read it yet, it's a much quicker read than the current code. It cuts the word count by about 45%. So that's the big stat we're, kind of beating the drum on and very proud of. We are going to be pushing tomorrow an update to the map that is an update that shows some changes we've been making in conversation with, neighborhood leaders, stakeholders. So that will be coming out tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. You'll get an email. And with that, I'm available for your questions.
Do we have any questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Ragsdale, may I please have a secretary's report for this month and an explanation of today's procedures?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a secretary's report, so I'll go into the procedure. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask the board members if they have any additional questions from anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, a motion will need to be made along with a second and a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and then take the final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she would need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium, and speaker's cards are not required of the applicant since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we certainly welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like to ask you to silence your cell phones so as not to interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 9 as a consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of these items individually, please come forward and give us the item number, and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, will you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 2 has been withdrawn. Item number 3 has been withdrawn. Item number 4, case SUP 2026-006 in Frazier. The request is a special use permit to allow a convenience store with gas pumps in the commercial mixed-use 1 district located at 2999 Overton Crossing Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 5, case SUP 2026-007 in Frazier. The request is a special use permit to allow a convenience store with gas pumps in the commercial mixed-use 1 district located at 2627 James Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 6, case S 2026-008 in North Memphis. The request is a 5-lot residential major subdivision located at 889 North 2nd Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 7, case S 2026-010 in Westwood. The request is a 40-lot residential subdivision located on the east side of Weaver Road, approximately 630 feet north of the intersection of Weaver Road and West Holmes Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 9, case SNC 2026-002 in South Memphis. The request is a street name change to rename Alston Avenue to Metal Museum Drive between the E.H. Crump Roundabout and the Metal Museum Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions, and that is our consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Anyone now wishing to pull a case from the consent agenda, please come forward and give us an item number. Other than that, we have pulled items number 1 and number 8. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with 1 vote, subject to the recommendation of DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only item numbers 1 and 8 will have full independent public hearings. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings, and where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 4 as a hold, item number 5 as a hold, item number 6, case S 2026-008, item number 7 as a hold, and item number 9, case SNC 2026-002.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we're ready to go to the regular agenda, and Mr. Gill on my left will present the regular agenda.
Item number 1, MJR 2025-032, Core City Major modification to PD 2008-325 and MJR 2022-047 to legitimize existing structures located at 363 Mulberry Street.
Okay, if the applicant is here, can you give us your information and then we'll have a presentation.
Gives us our consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm presenting MJR 2025-032, a correspondence to PD 2008-325. The request is a major modification to PD 2008-325 and MJR 2022-047 to legitimize existing structures. It's located in the core district. Here's a vicinity map. We sent out 329 notices. It is zoned South Main. It's in the South Main Historic District, and the land use is commercial. Here are a few side photos. This side is the Slider Inn restaurant in the South Main District. So the lot is made up of two lots. This is the west side of it, which the applicant is designating it for outdoor entertainment, which will include a cabana, food truck, bar area, and storage shed. And this is the east side of the plan, which involves the main restaurant. Now the request is that there are currently structures in the lots that isn't approved in the plan development. And so the request is for them to legitimize whatever is in the plan. Now, in 2022, the applicant came for a major modification, which they gave certain conditions for the applicant to apply to. They agreed to the conditions, but they have not fully complied to the condition. So we are here to review that. Now, these are some of the side conditions. In the 2022 approval, the applicant agreed to the condition to remove a temporary white tent and replace it with a permanent structure. And from 2022 till now, it hasn't been removed. And we have added certain conditions such as any other thing that is approved here today, the Memphis Landmarks Commission has to finally approve it. And these are the changes that were made to the outline plan condition, and the full conditions are in staff report, pages 17 to 19. This is the cabana that was approved to be removed, and the applicant hasn't removed it yet. Here ends my presentation, and I'm ready to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions of her at this time? If not, we will have the applicant make your presentation.
This is the Slider Inn. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with it, but this is a really hip restaurant and bar downtown on the South Main District, Mulberry Road in South Main. It's a very popular location for the downtown area, and it's very vibrant and brings a lot of life to the South Main District. Next slide. This is the cabana that the staff is asking us to remove. We just feel that this adds to the passive space, the green space that's there, and it gives shelter. It allows a breeze to come through. It allows warmth during the winter. The stage to the left is used for bands, and it also has a movie screen that they can play movies, The Final Four, and several different events. They have a lot of events at this location. Next slide. This is during the day. This is the picnic tables that you can see that are all around the site for people to enjoy the outdoors and enjoy the food from the restaurant. Next slide. This is another one of the cabana. Next slide. This is some of the activities that are done at the passive space. Next slide. This is where they're watching something on the screen. Next slide. This is a neon moon dance. Next slide. This is the Felicia Suzanne that was just opened across the street, and they have a cabana type structure also. The only difference is that theirs is not detached from the building, but it is very similar to what we're doing with the curtains and the shelter. Next slide. That's it. Okay. We feel that having to come to Land Use Control Board for approval to keep the cabana, that is the whole purpose of this, is to keep the cabana, to keep this open green space available for the public to enjoy. There also have conditions for us to go to landmarks. So if you approve this, then landmarks can overrule your approval. And we are not sure if that's fair for us to have to go through you for approval and then go through landmarks for approval or rejection, or come through you for approval or rejection. So we would like to remove condition 1 to remove the cabana, and condition 2 and 3 requiring us to go to landmarks for approval to keep the cabana. So I'm here if you have any questions. I also have Eric here that is with Slider Inn. I have sent around 5 or 6 letters of support, and we feel that this is a big asset for the South Main community, and we would like to keep it. So we're here for any questions.
Do you have any questions of her or at this time? No questions?
Thank you.
Okay. So hearing none, we don't have any opposition, so we're gonna close the public portion of this meeting. Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'm thinking, sorry. Can I get a motion to approve item number 1, MJR 2025-032? I just have some questions.
Go ahead.
For planning, tell me, what is the issue with from planning? I know we've done this, like Rail Garden had issues because a container is considered a building in Shelby County. Is it the fact that it's a temporary structure is the issue? What's kind of planning's point of view on a structure like this?
Thanks, Mr. Guy. I can speak to that a little bit just because I've been more involved over the past 3 to 4 years, and that's how long this has been going on. And I think part of the issue is there are several structures that are on site now that were never brought to us for permitting or approval, and that it's just kind of snowballed. And so this legitimizes those. So we're not requiring them to remove the shipping container that's there that was never brought before here and approved, or there's an additional like storage structure. And the tent, the last time you approved this, there was a condition to remove it and install a more permanent structure. Now that doesn't mean a building. That would be, in our opinion, and this is something we wanted to work with the applicant on, as far as it could still be an open, tent-like structure, but it would be a more permanent, something that would over time be more substantial. So that's our intent. Now, I think that the board today can decide what that means. I will just go back to the COA, the request to not have that condition. That's not an option. It is in a historic district, so it has to get a certificate of appropriateness. So we just have that in there just to clarify. So I just wanted to mention that. So we agree this is it's a great outdoor space. It's got a lot of activity, and certainly a covered area increases that and adds to that appeal. It's just, how do we come to a point where there's something that's a little more substantial but still gives those options? And that was our position on it.
For the applicant, why hasn't a permanent structure been built there? And is there a benefit, like from a patron point of view? Is there something that, I don't know how to explain this, but is there a reason to have a tent there? For instance, a temporary structure versus a permanent structure from like the appeal of a patron? I don't, other than the circus vibe, does that make sense? I'm not using that word like it is a circus. I'm just saying there's a temporary nature to the structure.
Hey, let's reopen the public portion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Did
I was
we-
gonna
we
ask.
closed the public portion? Do you mind reopening the public portion?
Okay, we're
I was gonna
opening
ask.
the public.
Thank you. It gives flexibility, but it's not any different than some of a lot of the other structures that are downtown. And you also have a structure very, very similar to this at Wiseacres. And it's become very popular because it does give you the flexibility. And you can open the curtains, you can close the curtains. You can do whatever modifications or changes, but it's more permanent. It's not a temporary structure that you can just remove and then bring up for just special events. It is permanent, and it withstands weather, and it is very well maintained. If y'all want to put a condition in there that it remains maintained, we'll be glad to do that. Judge Dandridge looked at it when we were over in environmental court, and he didn't really see what kind of a problem that there was with it either. So it gave them the flexibility, and it gave them the shelter that really everybody likes. That it gives them that Vegas type cabana vibe, and it's become very popular.
Okay.
If I can follow up on that, do you mind, Brown? Or do you have something else?
Go ahead.
I want to ask about the comparison to the Felicia Suzanne's awning, because I do not think that that's a fair comparison to this. It is a temporary structure. It's galvanized steel, and it's white parachute fabric, basically. It's what you see at the golf tournament for temporary buildings. So I don't think it's a fair comparison to the Felicia Suzanne's. And, that has, it has an interesting fabric. There are other components to it that make it architecturally interesting and significant compared to this pretty banal, it's relatively unattractive. And I think, to me, that's the issue, especially on a corner in South Main District in a historic neighborhood. To me, that's the issue. So I just maybe get some feedback from you about that comparison.
Yeah, if Landmarks was just going to be doing the design, then we will welcome any kind of changes or recommendations that they want to the design, the color, whatever. But we just feel that it is very similar just because of the drapes. But if you've been to Wiseacres, it's identical to the Wiseacres structure that they have that stays there.
But part of the difference is that this is a historic neighborhood. It's right on South Main. And again, I'm not picking at the drapes. I'm talking about the materials, and the structure of the tent is not the same as an awning.
I'm going to let Eric answer about the materials. Name and address.
Hello, my name is Eric Bourgeois. Address is 520 South Main Street, Memphis, Tennessee 38103. Happy to be here today. Thank you for hearing our case. I'm the marketing and events director for the restaurant group that includes Slider Inn, and proud to have created something as beautiful as this structure as it relates to the South Main Arts District. I've lived downtown for 10 years, and I've been working with Aldo's restaurant group for about 8 years now. The cabana structure was the first outdoor structure, to my knowledge, that was created after the pandemic. It was the first in downtown Memphis. It was one of the first areas that people were able to congregate initially after COVID. We were able to welcome people back into a safe space, giving them coverage. To your point about it being white and that potentially being an unattractive like color in a historic neighborhood, I was the president of the South Main Association in 2021, so I'm well aware of the the restrictions and the guidelines for the neighborhood. Is the alternative to replace it with a black structure so that it can be 20 degrees hotter in there for people during the summer months when they want to be enjoying trolley nights or live music events, or like we have last night, our movie night series. I don't think, I know that there are several, I walk up and down the street every single day. I live on South Main, and there are not just Felicia Suzanne's, but there are other structures that have the exact same material, which is like Cindy said, it's a flexible material, and it allows for us to, get use in the wintertime, in the winter months, in the summer months. And I fail to see, other than, subjective, it doesn't look good. I really don't really see the argument as it pertains to that, so.
Yeah, well, just to go back to make it really clear what I'm trying to say, this is a temporary structure. It's got galvanized steel and just white fabric. The Felicia Suzanne's awning, which is different, that y'all have referenced, includes powder-coated steel frame. It includes a fabric that has stripes. It's interesting. And so I'm not debating anything that y'all brought up in terms of the use of the structure. Totally agree. I love what y'all are doing. I've been to the restaurant, love the restaurant. I just think from a visual standpoint, I don't think it's compatible, and I think that's what staff is bringing up.
Anybody else?
I'm going to disagree. I think that brings a lot to the vibe of the restaurant. I think that's what a lot of the patrons and the young patrons are responding to. And I think that to ask a restaurant that you want in that area to bring business to the area, to bring, vitality to the downtown, to tear down a, temporary structure, to put a permanent structure, puts an undue burden on them financially. And I think, aesthetics, colors, that's really not our purview here. So I think we should do whatever we can to support the downtown businesses. And, from the support in the neighborhood, I think they want to keep that. So I'm going to support them in their, disagreement with the recommendations from staff.
Anybody else?
I kind of agree with you, Jennifer, and I'm good with the public portion of the meeting, but this is what it reminds me of. Do y'all know what a Spiegel tent is? You know what a Spiegel tent is? A Spiegel tent is it's a movable tent. It's from Germany. It actually it's a wooden structure with a fabric top or a vinyl top. And if you go to like Las Vegas now, there's one sitting in the front of Caesar's Palace, and it's by a company called Spiegel World, and they do an act inside of this tent. The fact that it is made out of vinyl actually is kind of part of the temporary nature of it is kind of what makes it cool. So I somewhat agree with you about the vibe of it versus a permanent structure. That's what I was trying to get from them, which was, is there a real reason why you just haven't built a permanent structure? But I'm kind of more on your side. I don't see neighbors showing up that are against it. So I'm a little bit more on Jennifer's side. So you want a motion to close the?
I just close it if
Okay,
there's
go
no
ahead.
more
Go ahead.
questions.
I have no.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, we're gonna again close the public portion of the meeting. Now, I have a question. Okay. If some want to entertain what the applicant has said, that would mean we would have to quote the motion with an amendment. Is that not correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so what is the pleasure? Is there any discussion amongst us at this time as to how we want to handle this?
I would believe we would just move to strike that condition.
To do what?
We would strike the condition about the.
But that would be amending what,
Yeah.
okay. So somebody needs to,
That's what I would move that we strike that condition. We can't do anything about the.
Condition number 1.
Yes, is that, yes.
Okay.
And then the part of the landmarks, I don't think we can do anything about that.
Right. I mean, you could remove it, but it's a requirement. So there is a motion. So there's a motion from Ms. O'Connell to
Second.
and a second from Mr. Gill. Any objections?
to remove the
To
Number
remove
one.
condition number 1?
Okay. And then we're gonna vote on that? And
Well,
then,
no objections? Okay, so then that motion carries. So now you can vote on whether to approve the project with that condition removed.
okay. We don't need to repeat it again, we just vote. Do we need to repeat it as amended?
Yes, Ms. O'Connell, could you just repeat the?
Here, I'll do it. How about
Okay.
this? Motion to approve MJR 2025-032, major modification to the PD 2008325, and MJR 2022-047 to legitimize existing structures located at 363 Mulberry Street as amended.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? I didn't mean to prolong it, but I wanted to do it right.
Well, I did want to just throw something. I like what the structure is. I like the vibe for Slider Inn. I completely support this. I know sometimes, I mean, being a business owner, it may take a little bit more to invest, you know, when it's like, hey, it's working for us, you know, a little bit more money to invest in a permanent structure, but also it just fits the vibe and no complaints like that. So hopefully you guys can make it through landmarks, but they do have my support.
Okay, okay. Hearing no other discussion, if there is no other discussion, I assume we're ready to vote. Will we do it individually?
Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, okay, not individually.
I'll just do it individually.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, just to make sure. So, Mr. Gill,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Ms. O'Connell, Ms. Wilbanks,
Yes.
Mr. Winter,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lyles Wallace,
Yes.
and Chair Sharp.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Mr. Gill.
Item number 8, SE 2026-001, Core City Special Exemption to subsection 7.29F to allow surface parking lot at a corner location located at 148 GE Patterson Avenue.
Okay. Can you,
5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200.
thank you. We will now have presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll share. Here, you go.
Go ahead.
I think we're having some technical difficulties, so give us a couple of minutes.
has never happened before. It's not part of my.
Got some Tootsie Rolls with some blood sugar and stuff.
What's going on?
Problem with the internet.
Okay, I think we have it up now. Sorry about that.
Good morning. Apologies for the technical difficulties. I'm Chloe Christian. I'll be presenting this case. This is a special exception case, case number SE 2026-001. The applicant is Mr. Brian Bullard, and he's represented by Cindy Reeves. And this is also in the South Main area on 148 GE Patterson Street. And this is a special exception to allow a surface parking lot at a corner location. Here's an aerial and location map of the property. It's at the corner of GE Patterson and St. Martin Street. There is an existing building on the lot, as you can see, and the request would be to add a surface parking lot at that corner location to serve as accessory parking for the tenants of the apartment building and office building, I believe, that would be installed there. So the property is in the South Main District. It's surrounded by a mix of uses. Obviously, the South Main Historic District is not too far on the western side. Here are some photos of the subject property from Google Street View. As you can see in this image, there is an existing surface parking lot to the rear of this structure. So the proposal would be to sort of extend this parking lot out into the corner. Here's the site plan that was submitted by the applicant. As you can see here, here's the existing building and the existing parking spaces. And then the proposed 18 parking spaces, on this corner lot here. There is a landscape plate A7 proposed for this portion of the extended parking lot, which is a requirement of the South Main parking lot standards. However, as staff, we have conditioned that if approved, this landscape plate would need to be sort of extended out into this parking lot as well, and also on the street frontage of GE Patterson. As you can also see, there are no landscape terminal islands proposed for the interior of the parking lot. So to sort of make up for that lack of interior landscape islands, we've also proposed a wider streetscape plate on this portion of the parking lot. Here's some renderings from the applicant of the apartment and office building. So in the UDC, the by right option for this corner parking lot would essentially be that no parking would be allowed whatsoever in this area indicated in red here. So around 65 feet from the intersection of the street, parking would not be allowed. And apart from that, surface parking lots are generally discouraged on corners. However, they can be allowed through this process here today. So as I mentioned before, we are recommending approval of this application with a few conditions to increase the curb appeal, if you will, and the landscaping of the property, which would result in the reduction of 4 parking spaces. So for this new area here, they would have 16 spaces instead of the 18. And here's some examples of the acceptable landscape plates. But the condition also is written to allow alternatives as deemed appropriate by staff, but generally it would include trees and shrubs, or just trees with sidewalk and wrought iron and brick fencing. So in conclusion, the applicant seeking a special exception to the requirements of the SCBID district to allow a surface parking lot on the northeast corner of G.E. Patterson and St. Martin Street. And we're prepared to recommend approval with a few conditions, which I will pause to allow you all to read. The other thing that I will say is condition number 5 does place a 10-year sunset on this approval and would render the parking lot approval null and void on April 2036. And with that, I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, we're ready for the applicant.
Got a presentation. Before I get in, while she's pulling up my presentation, DeSoto Lofts is actually not a part of the application. There's 2 lots here, and the surface parking lot belongs to the Marmalade restaurant across the street. So it's their land that we have a letter of intent to purchase at a very large price. And the request is for the surface parking lot on the lot that we are attempting to purchase. So after we ran the numbers of how much it's going to cost to add the parking lot and to purchase the land, it did not make sense to agree to a 10-year sunset clause here. So I just wanted to point that out while she was bringing it up. But this is an AI rendering of what the project would end up being. The offices are downstairs that house urban architecture or urban arc, and they will remain in the office downstairs, and that is their building. They own that building and the L shape, so they own all that. They're operating their business out of there. What the plan is to renovate the 2 upper levels into lofts, and so that's when they go to renovate for the lofts, they're going to need parking. The Civil Rights Museum across the street will tow you if you park in their parking lot. And there's not any other parking that is available for the new tenants that would be able to be renting in the loft. So next slide, please. You've already seen these. Next slide. That was their original vision. This is the unit plans that they're proposing. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So we're these were just floor plans and unit plans, which I had sent you. I also gave you a packet of all this. Next slide. So this is Central Barbecue right next door, and their landscape screen is very similar to what we would like to propose, and that would give the continuance of that. And their next slide. Next slide. their landscape screen is a 7-foot A7 plate, and that's what we would like to do instead of a 16-foot. Next slide. This is the vacant lot as it stands today. That's how it will remain if we cannot do this. And then we'll just have to figure out where the tenants will be able to park, because it will not make sense to go forward with purchasing this property, and it doesn't make sense. Next slide. This is the Civil Rights Museum right next door. Our tenants cannot park there. And as you can see, they don't have the wrought iron fence. They don't have the landscaping that we're proposing, but we're proposing to continue what Central Barbecue has done. Next slide. This is Marmalade Restaurant right across the street. There's nothing there, but they are grandfathered in. We understand that. Next slide. This is right across the St. Martin condos, and you've got your visitor parking, and then you have your gated parking in the rear. But this is their landscaping and their screen, and they have tree grates in front of their project. We are agreeing to put in 2 tree grates on GE Patterson to continue the tree grates, and we felt that that was a good alternative to having the islands in the parking lot that take up parking spaces. Next slide. This is Felicia Suzanne's. This is the landscaping that they have done for their parking lot just recently, which what we're proposing is more than what is there. So next slide. This is just going up GE Patterson at Mulberry, and you can see there's a lot of street parking, and there's a lot of tree grates in the sidewalk, which we would like to continue. Next slide. This is, as you can see, there's not a lot of parking lots except for St. Martin has their gated lot, and for their condos, the majority of the businesses that don't have them are restaurants and offices and bars, and they don't need the secured parking for their patrons. Next slide. Okay, we're done. I just, as I said before, and I do have an alternate plan. Chloe, if you could bring that up. If the board would like to go with an alternate plan, we do have a plan that would take the curb cut out to GE Patterson instead of out to St. Martin's. And the board could consider that also. And we would still do the tree grates, but we would continue the Central Barbecue landscaping along our lot, or along the proposed lot that we're gonna attempt to purchase. But that was just an alternative that the board could use. That lot is 100 by 60. It's a very small lot, and if 10 or 20 years from now it made sense to get rid of the parking lot, yes, we would love to redevelop it into a building, but right now we just feel that we cannot commit to a 10-year sunset. So I'm gonna hold for any questions. I feel that I've taken up enough of your time, but please accept our request and not put that burden upon us to have a 16-foot landscape screen along GE Patterson, and to consider the alternate plan. Either one, we are good with either one. So we'll leave it up to the board.
Thank you.
And I have Brian Bullard here if y'all have any questions for him.
Okay, any questions for the applicant and/or reps? Go ahead.
How many lofts are you looking to develop?
Is it 9? It's 10.
10. And how many spaces does the current downstairs architectural firm use on a daily basis?
There's 12 in that existing lot.
And how many employees do you have?
We have 8 currently.
They have 18 employees and 12 parking spaces.
So you need the parking.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so I had this building for sale for a period of time, and I'm glad glad somebody purchased it and has the vision that I was actually set out to find you. But obviously, I think, that guy next door is tough to deal with, but sound like you got him. But I like what's going on with the property. Let me ask you, is the green space hurting because you lose, I think, what it said, 4 parking spots, is that right, Chloe? Is that hurting the number? I mean,
That hurts the number. We could possibly lose 2
yeah.
at the most, but the numbers just don't work, and it doesn't accommodate the office and the tenants.
Yeah, would you put in the benchmarkers on the front like everybody else, that allows you to kind of still have, without the green, that allows you to go forward without the green? I mean, how do we put something like that in there? Because if she's gonna be consistent with everybody on the road already, is there an opportunity to put that inside of this now, or no?
Yeah, it would be similar to what our site plan shows, which we're showing the 2 tree grates.
Right.
And we propose the same type tree that the St. Martin condos proposed across the street.
Sure.
No, those were the type trees that we had put in there. So we're really gonna have 2 separate landscape screens. So we'll have the tree grate landscaping, and then we would still have the 7-foot A7.
Right. Okay.
If we can get approval.
Anybody else?
I have, I guess one quick question. The Marmalade Restaurant, they've just owned this vacant lot
Yes,
for way too long.
way too long.
Are they still operating?
Huh?
No.
Are they still operating?
No.
No, so they've closed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And just a general comment, as somebody who seems to never build enough parking for mixed use, I understand the need to have enough parking if you want to keep something leased. I also think that a parking lot doesn't make you any money. It allows you to keep a building leased or to lease a building, but as downtown becomes more dense, parking lots are the market is the first place that starts buying parking lots and turning them into leasable space. And we find other ways, more expensive ways to park cars, which is typically dig a hole or build structured parking. So I don't like the sunset either as a developer, because I feel like you spend money on improvements and then you have to go and justify those improvements in a decade. And so that's just me and my perspective. I think that if our downtown ever becomes more dense, which may not happen in my lifetime, that the parking lots will be the first places that we start to redevelop.
That's correct.
So I don't think we need artificial sunsets to then let the market take its proper course. So that's it.
I'd like to just add one thing. Recently, my daughter's moved to Kansas City, and that's a city that is, they're really developing their downtown and repurposing older buildings into loft spaces. And it's very interesting. You keep the, integrity of the old structures, but one key thing is parking. And that was, a must-have right next to your building in a downtown where, safety is an issue, convenience is an issue. So I support having the parking lot to have a successful building, and that's what we would want.
Anyone else before we close the public portion? Any questions of anybody? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting. And
Need a motion? You good?
is there any okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Motion to approve SC 2026-001 special exemption to subsection 7.2.9F to allow surface parking lot at the corner located at 148 GE Patterson Avenue.
We have a motion, we have a second. Now, is there any discussion?
We'd have to amend, if we agree, we'd have to amend the sunset clause and some of the landscaping.
So are there any suggestions?
Yeah, I don't think the request is unreasonable. I think the loss, I think the issue, at least part of what I understood, was the loss of those 2 parking spaces or 4 parking spaces. And in order to support this mixed-use development, I think it's important to scale back the landscaping just a little bit, but still be consistent with the neighbors, which I think is appropriate. So I'm not sure exactly how we need to amend it, how best to amend it.
Well, and we were just talking about this. So we in the conditions, we do not actually require the extended 16-foot. We mention it in here, but we just say a type A or type A6 or 7 streetscape. So we could allow the 2 parking spaces along GE Patterson with the current conditions so that those would be added back. So we could do that. And then if the sunset is one that you want to strike, that would be condition number 5.
Perfect. That makes sense. I was wondering, those streetscapes look a lot thinner than 16 feet, so that makes sense.
Right.
So would, Mr. Reeves, Mr. Miller, would that be acceptable if we leave condition number 1 as is and strike number 5? That accomplish your goal?
Open again,
Sorry.
or did we close it?
We closed it.
Thank you. We would like to keep the 2 spaces on their current lot. We would also, because this amendment would just eliminate the 2 parking, would give us back the 2 parking spaces along GE Patterson. The existing parking that they use for their employees, they're asking for modifications to that lot, which is actually not a part of the application. So we would like that not to be required.
Are you saying it's on a different lot? Is that the issue?
That's correct. It does not belong to, that lot belongs to Brian, but the current lot that we're asking for the special exception on does not. It belongs to the Marmalade restaurant owner.
But
So we would like to continue the A7 and do, which right now we don't have the A7 along their existing lot. So we would continue the A7 all the way down St. Martin and be consistent with Central Barbecue. So the A7 would go along St. Martin and along GE Patterson, along with the 2 tree grates. So we're accomplishing being consistent with Central Barbecue and with the streetscape of GE Patterson. So we're
But only on the lot on the corner, not on the lot behind.
correct.
The A7.
Thank you.
Mr. Reagan.
yeah, just to clarify, that is part of the application. They are purchasing it, and it's part of the full site. So that parking lot is subject to this. It is part of the application. And just to be clear, like the back parking lot along St. Martin, to be consistent with Central Barbecue, would actually have this landscaping because they do have the landscaping. Right now, that parking is right up against the sidewalk. So that's the intention of that, is to have that
Consistency. Otherwise, there'd be a gap in it.
Right, exactly. So,
Okay, are we finished with the public portion yet?
Well, I just would like to ask, is there any I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That lot is already there, and the reason that that lot and the building are apart or shown graphically is to show that this just isn't a surface parking lot to be leased out. It has a purpose, and the purpose is to serve the lofts. And the original parking lot is for the office. That was developed for the office, which is not enough parking as it is. So we
So,
would.
just to be clear, you're opposed to adding the A7 landscaping on the existing lot on St. Martin?
Yes, we are, because it's already constructed. The fence is already in. It's active for their employee parking right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else before we close it? Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna close the public portion of the meeting one more time. And if you would read how you want it structured.
Let me just pull it back up. Okay. All right, so motion to approve item number 8, SE 2026-001, special exception to subsection S 7.2.9F to allow subsurface parking lot located at the corner of 148 GE Patterson Avenue, as amended with the A7 landscape plate along the, I don't know which road that is. I guess we could say, here it is. And and with the A7, with the option of the A7 landscape plate and the removal of item number 5 from the staff conditions.
Are you doing A7 down GE Patterson and St. Martin?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
So just to clarify, they're still concerned about that, even along St. Martin, that having to do the landscaping on the existing lot. So do we want to include that or not?
I think you'd want it to be consistent all the way down as it is from Central Barbecue.
Yeah, generally I agree. But I know they've got an issue with parking.
And I don't want you
out
to,
2 more spaces.
right,
So,
I don't want them to have to remove more than 2 spaces to do this.
and it's also been constructed, they said.
okay, so is that stated as you want it? And if so, do we have a second?